This is MC Tone from the 757 Spin Number the Truth. Back to you all with another video. And y'all know what time it is. It's the NFL team breakdown. And today, it's how about them Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys, man. And yeah, y'all didn't have a year that y'all expected to last year, you know. Very disappointing, especially with the amount of talent y'all had. Ezekiel, Elliot holdout was definitely, I think, a big distraction on his team. I think with a full training camp, I think he's going to get back to what he was. Even though he did have a solid year, to definitely finish top 5 in rushing, the team just looked mentally not there. It wasn't mentally there, man. And I think that has to do with coaching to me. Jason Garrett not having his players ready to play. I think they needed a new voice, and I'm glad that they picked up Mike McCarthy to have that Super Bowl winning coach, you know, that takes what it's like to win a Super Bowl, man. This is a Super Bowl caliber roster. And I think there's definitely, like I said in the previous video, no excuses for the Dallas Cowboys not to at least reach the championship game with this roster. I think even with the Tony Romo years that y'all had, with the T.O. years, I think this is the best roster hands down, even with those years. But let me get on with this video. The Dallas Cowboys coached by Mike McCarthy, the former Green Bay head coach. The time was coming in Green Bay. Him and Aaron Rodgers fell off the cliff, you know. And sometimes that happens, you know. It's time to move on. And he took a year off. I think that's what he needed to see what offense is that he needed to adjust himself, especially in the modern day offense. And I'm glad he took a year off. And I think the Cowboys is definitely a good fit for him. The defense coordinator, Mike Nolan from the Saints, I think that was another great pickup. One thing about the Cowboys, I think a lot of people I was speaking to, is that their halftime adjustments, man. They made no adjustments to me in halftime, especially in the defense side of the ball. It's more of just line up, play harder. I think that's what I think they definitely need to prove on. I think they need to prove on adjustments and halftime adjustments. And the offensive coordinator, I think they was a smart move to retain Kellen Moore, you know. I think him and Dak Prescott was definitely comfortable together. He wants some familiarity with that offense, especially with Mike McCarthy and having a familiar voice. So I think that was a great pickup. I think Dak Prescott is very happy that Kellen Moore is still around. And let's go with the draft picks. First round, I thought it was a steal, man. If you, hey, CeeDee Lamb to me was the best player on the board. I know a lot of people wanted defense, but if you got a talent like CeeDee Lamb to me, who was arguably the best wide receiver in the draft besides Jared Judy, then you got to pick him, and that's hands down. I think that was a great move by them. Steal of the draft. CeeDee Lamb is definitely going to push that offense over the top if they already didn't. Trayvon Diggs out of Alabama, a cornerback, long, physical. I really like him out of Alabama. Should have been a first-round pick. I think it was a steal, another steal out of the Cowboys had in the draft. It was a great pickup. Trayvon Diggs, man, the brother of Stephon Diggs, and I hope he has a great season. Third-round pick, Neville Gilmore out of Oklahoma, a defensive tackle. Hey, add definitely that defensive line, because I think that's definitely what they needed. Besides DeMarcus Lawrence, they don't really have anybody to me that really helped to set that edge rush. So they did have Robert Quinn, and he led the team in sacks. I know DeMarcus Lawrence was not healthy all season, so hopefully he's healthy this season. He has a bounce back season. He finishes strong. Reggie Robinson out of Tulsa, very solid. Another cornerback, very solid. Tyler Bizaz, because Travis Frederick, you know, he had an autoimmune disease, retired, one of the best centers in the league. It was very unfortunate that he had that disease to me, because he was definitely one of the best centers in this league, and he's going to be hard to replace. Joe Looney has to step up. It was a big loss. For fifth round, Bradley Anae, another defensive tackle, and Ben DiNucci out of James Madison. So I think they definitely had a solid draft. It was a great draft night to me. Boy, Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones was going there when they got CeeDee Lamb, and I was very shocked that CeeDee Lamb fell that far. I don't know what teams didn't like really about him. Like I said, I thought he would have been a perfect fit for the Raiders, but the Raiders, they love speed, you know, with Henry Ruggs, so I can't blame that on them. But CeeDee Lamb to me is definitely a great pickup for the Cowboys, and he's been killing it at camp, I've heard. And I think he can. You won't be mad if you hear any wide receiver in this year be picked as offensive rookie of the year. So one thing about a team like the Cowboys, they had a great defense and they finished in these offensive and defensive stats and basically in the top 10 or at least in the top 20 in like a lot of major stats, and they did not make the playoffs. So in offensive plays, there were 6. Top 15 in turn on time of possession, 0.6 yards 1, passing yards 2nd, passing touchdowns 5th, rushing yards 5th, rushing touchdowns 7th, rushing touchdowns 13th, overall touchdowns. Points in defense, there were points were 11, yards were 9th, passing yards 10th, passing yards 8th, rushing yards 11th, rushing touchdowns is 17th, red zone 15th, overall touchdown 9th, time of possession 14. Not too bad, not great. Definitely room to improve. Like I said, I think it was just adjustments to them definitely on the defense side of the ball, and I think that definitely can be fixed with Mike Nolan. Mike Nolan got a little bit more talent than they did have, and the Saints, even though the Saints did have a decent defense, but I think the Cowboys definitely have a little bit of more defensive talent for Mike Nolan to work with. The offense, I think Dak Prescott, they only go as far as Dak Prescott. I'm not saying Dak Prescott is the best player on this team or on the offense, but I'm saying that he plays the quarterback position, which is the most important position on the field. So they're going to have to definitely need a big year for him. I think if he wants to be that $40 million contract player, he has to prove it. He was beaten by the Eagles team in the last playing game to go into the playoffs, and he got beat by Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz was throwing the guys who were just signing off the out of free agency or in the practice squad, and Dak Prescott was throwing to Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. Even though he had probably a messed up shoulder, he was still out there, and he missed a couple of throws when they were wide open. And I'm just wondering, can Dak Prescott take him over the edge? I think this is a big year for him. You know, he's betting on himself, and he feels like he's worth that contract, that Patrick Mahomes contract, and I can never blame a player for wanting to feel that way. But they're only as far. Coach Mike McCarthy said he loves Dak Prescott and he came here for Dak Prescott. I think Mike McCarthy can help him with his mechanics. Dak Prescott, he's not super duper as talented as like a Patrick Mahomes and State, but I think he's definitely a solid quarterback. Top 10, I think you could put him in the top 10 quarterbacks. He's done a lot of good things to me. He doesn't make too many mistakes, but I think he just struggles against good. He struggled against good teams last year. He beat up on the bad teams, except for the Jets when they lost against the Jets. But he just struggled against the good teams, and I just want to see Dak Prescott and his growth, you know. And it was definitely to me, he had a decent year, you know. He finished second in passing yards. I think that's something that they hang your head up high on. And I just want to see the Cowboys finishing strong, just for the talent on this team. A lot of key free agent signings was Clinton Dix, what I thought was perfect for them with Heath leaving in free agency. They re-signed Amari Cooper, Tari Poe. They lost Jared McCoy to a ruptured quad, which was sad. I thought that brought a lot of leadership to him. Alden Smith, they re-signed Sean Lee. Blake Jarwin was re-signed. Anthony Brown and Greg Zuerlein. I thought that was a great pickup. They were really bad in kicking, and I'm glad they picked up Greg the leg man. He has a strong leg, very accurate kicker. It was a great pickup for them. And I think Alden Smith will be a good free agency signing, man. He was definitely a beast before, you know, sadly he had a drug problem. But I think he can turn his career around. Jay Glazers has been speaking highly about him. So hopefully he can get back and be a beast, man. He was one of the best pass rushers, if not the best pass rushers in the league. And just let me give y'all a breakdown of the talent the Cowboys have. Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel, Elliot. They have Tyron Smith, still one of, not the best, but one of the best offensive tackles in the league still. Michael Gallup, Zach Martin, who's one of the best guards in this league. They got Lionel Collins, who's an up-and-coming tackle. I know he's still working on his condition and coming back into camp. Connor Williams and Joe Looney, I think those are going to have the two key pieces of the line. Can they hold it down? Especially Joe Looney, who they lost Travis Frederick, and that's going to be a big key. I know Joe Looney stepped in Travis Frederick that year that he missed the whole year with the autoimmune disease. So let's see if he can step up big for them. Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence, Tari Poe, Alden Smith, Everson Griffin, who they picked up late in free agency, but definitely another great pickup to help with their defensive line and creating more pressure. They got Leighton Vander Esch, Jaylon Smith, Sean Lee, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis, and Xavier Woods, and Chidobe Awuzie. And just let me tell you about the Cowboys, man. They're just a talented team on both sides of the ball. I think the only concerns I have is probably maybe the secondary. I like to see a little bit more turnovers and interceptions. They lost Byron Jones in free agency to me, but I think Byron Jones, about him is that he never really caused turnovers to me, especially in the interception department. And I would just like to see this Cowboys under Mike Nolan improve that of turning over the ball and hoping that offense get more possessions. I think that's definitely what they need. The offense, I think they need to. Hey, when Mike McCarthy had Eddie Lacy ran for 1,000 yards twice under Mike McCarthy. So I'm wondering to see how he's going to use Ezekiel Elliot, man. And they have all the weapons, they have all the pieces. I think what comes down to the Cowboys ultimately is they need leadership. Leadership is definitely the key for the Cowboys, and mental toughness. Can they be mentally tough? And that's what the Cowboys haven't been. They haven't been mentally tough, and they haven't had any true leaders step up. And I think adding Gerald McCoy, who still, even though he's released, he's still going to be a voice in the locker room, which I think they need. They need leaders, especially these young leaders like Jaylon Smith, Vander Esch, Dak Prescott, to step up and be leaders in this locker room. I know they still have Sean Lee, who's going to be that veteran presence, but I'm glad they did add some veteran presence in this young locker room, because they need it. And like I said, I like the Mike McCarthy signing. I like that they retained Kellen Moore. I like Mike Nolan. I think it all could come around for the Cowboys to me. Like I said, a top 5 roster in this league, top 5 talent in this league. But I think at the end of the day, there's no leadership, and I think that's what it comes down to, having better leadership, and hopefully Mike McCarthy can bring that to the Cowboys. So let me know. I know it's a lot of frustration with y'all Cowboys fans. Y'all seem always disappointed in y'all team having high hopes, knowing what kind of roster I have. So let me know. Like, comment, subscribe if you like the video. Tone out. Thank you.